Welcome to Westminster Catawba Christian School, stepping up to upper elementary. I'm so glad that you have joined us today to hear about the wonderful things God is doing through 4th and 5th grade here at the school. My name is Joanna Swafford. I serve as the elementary principal, and I am joined today by Katina Shackelford, one of our 4th grade teachers, Rusty Fleming, and Emily Smith, who serve as our 5th grade teachers. Welcome, you guys.
Hello. Hi there.
Hello.
Today, we just want to spend a little bit of time, maybe about 30 minutes, giving you some touch points on what to expect when your students get to 4th and 5th grade here at Westminster Catawba Christian. So today we're going to talk through just a few of those pieces: curriculum design, co-curricular experiences, social emotional development, and middle school. This is all to get them ready for middle school. Here we come. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this is just that we are here to support you, families, and here to love your kids through these next couple of years that they have as they get ready for middle school, and just to be partners with you in their development and their growth. So enjoy what we talk about. We're going to talk about the curriculum. Of course, that is what we are here to do. We exist to educate students to bless the world as disciples of Jesus Christ. And so we'll talk about the 5 pieces of curriculum that we go through each day: Bible, math, science, language arts, and social studies. And we'll also talk about where we see God in all of those subjects and how we provide time and the space and learning of the kids to develop their own perspective through the lens of the Bible. Let's start with Bible. Our Bible instruction is targeted at leading students to salvation. We want no greater joy than to see our children walking in the truth, right?
That's right.
So let's start with Bible. I know in both grades, we do provide Bible each day, except for on chapel, and then chapel serves as our Bible time. But Ms. Shackelford, tell us a little bit about the Bible instruction that you provide in your classrooms.
We talk about servanthood. It's a really key point because we know that Jesus came to serve, and he teaches us that we should serve others. Mm-hmm. So we really focus on just being a servant, being a disciple, and serving others.
That's good. That's good. How about in 5th grade? How does that translate over as they get into the 5th grade?
In 5th grade, we try to take it to a more personal level where they can actually interact with each other and learn ways that they can serve each other at school or other staff members, and even at home, how they can serve their parents, and use that as a source of stewardship. And some of the jobs that we have around the building, like recycling and things like that, that's another way that we make it hands-on and a real life experience for them. So it's not just the words that they're hearing, but they're putting it into practice.
Day-to-day practice. That's great.
Yeah, we try to also instill with them the idea of what it means to be an image bearer. All these things kind of come from that, as an image bearer, who we are representing, but not just keeping in mind that we are image bearers, but especially in 5th grade, remembering that other students are also image bearers. And we really struggle with trying to help them understand that you need to be thinking beyond just yourself. And the Bible calls us to think of others. That's part of the servanthood thing that carries over from 4th grade into 5th grade. And the idea that if someone is an image bearer of God, that Jesus Christ died on the cross for, then they are worthy of every possible thing you could give to them, every consideration, every kindness, every bit of support. And we try to help them understand that that's how we need to be looking at each other. And it's not just what I want, it's the people around me and what do they need.
What a great foundation for them to have going into those middle school years, when it becomes so difficult to remember whose you are, you know, and who's got your back all the time. That's great. That's good. One thing I did want, I'm going to go back to this slide because one major difference between 4th and 5th grade is in 5th grade, the kids have two teachers. So they will split up into homerooms, and one homeroom will have Mr. Fleming for Bible, and the other homeroom will have Mrs. Smith for Bible. The rest of the subjects they share. So they will go to Mr. Fleming for math and science, and they'll go to Mrs. Smith for language arts and social studies. That gives them a little taste of how middle school is going to run, right, guys?
Yeah, it gives a little bit of that grown up kind of feeling.
Yes.
Not just stuck in a classroom all day.
And I do love that that we don't have a separate Bible class at this level, that you as their mainstream teacher is the one that is guiding them in their Bible instruction. Ms. Shackelford, what does that allow for you in a connection related to connections with them?
One thing that I noticed with the children, they love to lead prayer. One thing about it is we actually came up with a daily prayer that we recite in unison. Like we came up with that at the beginning of the year. We all had a part in it. I did as well. So, you know, they love to pray. So that is one thing that is very important in our classroom.
What a great community builder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have the opportunity in fifth grade, which I'm sure is the same for fourth, that when you're their Bible teacher and you're with them throughout the day, you can always draw back again on the lessons that we've been talking about that morning or that week or previous. And I know that Mrs. Smith and I are doing that all the time, and we stay pretty close to each other on the lessons that we're teaching.
Mhm.
And so we can easily talk to both classes. I know that you've been discussing this. Well, look, here's an example. It gives us an opportunity in all four subjects to draw back on what we just did in Bible, so we can extend that learning.
Now, in fourth grade, Ms. Shackelford, you have a team partner too, and so you guys are planning parallel as well, right?
Yes,
So you're
yes.
so you're able to speak into the lives of the other fourth grade class, just like she
Absolutely.
is yours. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So helpful, because these the teachers see their grade level as their students. I think we do a good job of that at Westminster. It's not just my class of 18, it's my class of 38 or however 36, however many I put in there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to math. Another real distinctive of our school is that we teach everything through the lens of the biblical perspective. And that is not an easy thing to do. And I hear specifically in math, that is sometimes a rather difficult thing to do, but so foundational in their learning to see that everything has God's, and every piece of learning is because God created. So tell us, let's start with you, Mr. Fleming. You teach math to our fifth graders.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know in January, you are going to be meeting with the sixth grade math teacher when we come back from Christmas break on one of those work days to just do some vertical alignment of curriculum, making sure that you are getting them where they need to be ready for sixth grade, and that sixth grade is starting at the point that you leave off. Tell us a little bit about their math.
Well, talking about how we can pull scripture into it or bring God into it. Math is actually an easy one, because math is all about order and numbers, and things work specifically the way they were meant to work. Equations and formulas work every time the same way, because that's how they were designed. And it's just like we can look at the world around us that God created. God made a seed to grow into whatever specific plant that seed came from. God made a fruit to come, banana from a banana tree, an apple from an apple tree. And so there's order that we see in the universe that God created, and that easily carries over into math. And so we are often able times to bring back a lesson. Hey, doesn't this remind us of kind of how God planned this and how things worked out exactly the way they're supposed to? And we do that. And then when we work vertically, like I've worked with Miss Shackelford, kind of going fourth to fifth, and when I work in January going fifth to sixth, it really helps to keep that oneness in the school, because we can have an idea of where they're coming from and where they're going to, and how we can best bring them in and send them off.
And I love at our school, specifically since we are infants through 12th, I have really appreciated for my own children as they've come through, that teachers connect on these different, from even the lower school to the upper school, and then the middle school to the high school. That's a gift that we get to provide these students in their planning and keeping everything, as closely knit together as we can to embrace their learning.
Well, it's nice. We can build those relationships with the younger kids that
Mhm.
are coming to us. Fifth grade, we're the end of the line in lower school, so it's nice to be able to mingle with them and interact in the hallways or the cafeteria or
Yeah.
outside and start building those relationships, because that opens the door to us later to have that easier conversation when it comes to biblical matters and those truths we want them to learn.
Yeah, that's good. Now, Ms. Shackelford, tell us a little bit, like one thing that you find fourth graders in math, when they come to fourth grade in math, what's the one thing that they go, ooh, like, this is hard, Ms. Shackelford?
Order of operations is usually one area that they tend to struggle with. And I think it's just because they have to do things in order.
Mm.
I mean, it's, you're coming from third grade, learning how to be more independent and just thinking independently instead of someone telling you exactly what to do each time. They have to take things step by step.
Mhm.
So order of operations, I would say, is the one thing that they tend to just kind of grimace
Yeah.
when we get to it.
But then they get it and they
But they
feel
get it,
empowered by
and
it. I've
they
seen
do.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. All right, let's move on to science. We have really fun science labs in fourth and fifth grade, but we also, that's because we have teachers who are good science teachers. So talk to me, let's keep in fourth grade for a little while. Ms. Shackelford, what is one of your most favorite thing you've either taught or lab that you've led them through?
Body systems.
Okay.
We start with body systems. They come in and they're excited because they're learning about themselves. It's not so much just physical science or whatever. So body systems is really fun. We had a lab that they love it, where they take a balloon and it's like, I think it's like where they make a model of a lung.
Okay.
So that's like their favorite lab.
I
for
did
body
see them
systems.
walking around with those balloons, just so proud of their lungs. That's great. How about you, Mr. Fleming? You teach science to fifth grade.
Yeah, I think just in general, they love the labs, which we are able to do a lot of. One or more every single week,
That's great.
sometimes every single day. Sometimes they're very simple, sometimes they're more involved. Like right now, we're doing a unit with electricity and magnetism. The kids got to build remote controlled robots that they get to keep, and we're going to do an obstacle course right before Christmas that they're going to run their robots through.
Oh,
They also get to work with circuits and wires and batteries and magnets and light bulbs and put things together.
Mhm.
So a lot of hands-on, and that's really one of the wonderful things about it. We get to engage them on a hands-on level too, to make it a little bit more, I guess, learnability. Is that a good word? Don't make that up. Write
Ask
that
our
down.
language arts
Yeah.
teacher. I do think, Ms. Shackelford hit the nail on the head with independence. So they're coming to the upper elementary age and we're expecting them to have more independence. And part of that is because we want them to be engaged in these higher level learning or these higher, these labs for example, that require more independence. And we can't give these things to kids who are not yet able to, self-regulate and do things without asking for every step by step. So developmentally appropriate, of course, but the independent piece is a big one, and they grow into that naturally as they're exposed to more opportunities. It's good. Let's move on. Language arts is, of course, one of the key components to our curriculum. Mrs. Smith, tell us a little bit about when they leave fifth grade and they go to sixth, what you're just really wanting them to be able to do from a biblical lens.
Okay, so with language arts, of course, I'm building on what they learned in fourth grade and then getting them ready for sixth grade. So you mentioned independence. That's a big area that we work on. Reading comprehension has been something that Mr. Fleming and I talk about a lot because it has, of course, to do with language arts, but a big part of it is math too, especially with word problems. So we are stressing comprehension being able to read and dig a little bit deeper when you're reading and not just stay on the surface. So we talk about making connections and questioning and inferencing and all those types of things that are ongoing. So they make connections in their real life. They make connections with other things like social studies that we'll talk about. And I like to just put it all together whenever we can. So the other part of independence is that we work in stations this year, and they definitely have to do a lot of regulating because it's 16 people talking and in groups at the same time. So it could get noisy. I have to help them with that. But the really good thing that I like that I've heard and I've seen is that they're really interacting and helping each other grow.
Oh, that's great.
Sometimes it's really good for them to teach each other or to give some advice and suggestions, whether it's a writing piece or understanding how you come to an answer, whether it's a writing assignment in their group, reading comprehension more than ever, and different things along those lines.
We write a lot. We write a lot
Yes.
at the school, and one of the reasons is writers. It affects their entire learning profile. When you can write and you have the stamina to continue writing, not everybody's going to write the same amount or the same depth, but if you have stamina in getting thoughts on paper and you build that strategically, I feel like that helps you be able to speak with purpose. It helps you to listen more intentionally, and then, be a disciple of Jesus Christ and be able to share what you know about him with others. Now, in fourth grade, I do hear that there's a good bit of a leap that we need to prepare our families for in the writing process. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Ms. Shackelford?
I think the leap is, I noticed that the students are trying to put sentences together to make the paragraph. So they're still learning how to, I guess, build on just the topic sentence or just put it all together to make sense. So what we like to do is have them, create a journal letter, just a personal journal letter to us as teachers, and they can create one and, send it to a friend. And what we do is have the author's spotlight, so they can read what they wrote in their journal if they're like free writing. And then the kids give feedback, because I think they're all learning from each other, like, oh, okay, well, maybe this didn't flow, or maybe that really flowed. So we're starting to see they're
engaged in that. When I've seen those lessons, they really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Which surprises me, because at this age, you think they start to shrink back and not want to have the spotlight, but
No,
I've seen the exact
share.
opposite in fourth grade. Now in fifth grade, Ms. Smith, do you see them wanting to share their writing and their thoughts?
Yes, actually, one of the students, she's been writing a book since last year.
Wow.
So she got a chance to, around our advisory time before we started, she started sharing the story that she wrote, and the kids loved it. They're like, "Oh, that's amazing! You wrote that."
That is great.
So she's continuing.
That's
where
so
she left
good.
off last year.
So good. And I know you're going to be meeting Ms. Smith with our middle school language arts teacher in January as well, to try to bridge that piece between language arts, between lower school and upper school. All right. And finally, social studies. Social studies is almost, in my mind, as fun as science here, because of the way that you guys bring it to life. And just the way you show God in all of it, and the way that he is working out his purpose through all of it. Ms. Smith, tell me one of your favorite things that you like to lead the kids in social studies.
There's a couple, but I will talk about what we're doing right now. We're working on the 1920s, a project for the 1920s, the Roaring 20s.
The Roaring 20s.
So the students are working in groups, and they were given a list of people and topics to talk about. And one particular group that stands out to me right now, they're doing something that I haven't seen done in the last 3 years that I've been teaching. So they're going to present the information that they find, but they're going to do it in a skit form. as if they were on the radio, because
Oh,
TV was not that
right.
popular. It was just coming about, but they're going to do it as if they're doing a radio show.
I love it.
And I think that was just really neat that they came up with that. And because I wanted them to be creative, wanted them to have fun in how they present to, and some people are doing PowerPoint,
Yeah.
and some people are doing Google Slides, and some
Yeah.
people are doing poster boards, and they decided to make it into a skit.
That's
So
really neat.
I really enjoy that, and seeing them talk about the golden age of sports, or
Yes.
fashion in the
Uh,
20s, and how it relates and how it's changed over time. So they're
Well,
really excited.
One thing I'm hearing from 4th and 5th grade is that you guys are really doing a lot of student-directed learning opportunities. And I think that you do that very well. I think at this age, 4th and 5th grade, they want to talk.
Yes.
So you have a way to harness that energy and make it about the learning. And of course, sometimes they have to listen too. Yeah, we get that. But the student directed piece of that, students in this generation are stay engaged the longest and the most when we give them something to make their own. And so when they're working with each other to solve problems or work through things, they're going to stay engaged longer. So anyway, good job. That sounds really great. 4th grade, I know that you cover a lot of things. Is there anything that you would want to touch on?
The kids are really excited about learning the states and capitals with social studies. And I think my favorite field trip was the one to Camden Revolutionary Site. They were able to they had hands-on activities where they made like little pots, little pinch pots, and they even made bricks.
That's cool.
And then they were able to go into the house, and I mean, just everything. So that was a really
brings it to
good
life.
field trip. Yeah.
That's great. All right, so speaking of which, let's talk about some of the co-curricular things that they get to do in 4th and 5th grade. So this will involve our programming, the events that take place in these grade levels, and then some of our field trips. Talk to me a little bit, each of you, 5th and 4th, pick something that you just love and let's talk about it. Let's start with 5th grade. What's one of the favorite things that you guys do with the kids that are co-curricular?
Okay, feast day. Yeah, that's one. This is a really cool thing because the kids will research a country and they have certain things they're supposed to know about the country, like the type of government it is, a brief history of the country, what religious presence is there, what Christian presence is there a mission effort, do they send missionaries, about their flag, what does it mean, what are the colors for, and then on top of finding this kind of information, and they can do fun facts too, they also will make a flag and they will also make a recipe from their country. And we have a feast day where we come and we hear the different presentations. And I think you're doing them in groups this year, or that's what we're talking about doing, right? Instead of individuals, because we have so many kids. And they'll talk together, they'll present, and then we'll have a big feast made of dishes from around the world, possibly even from different times, depending on what part of the culture that they decided to do that with. And so it's really cool because we can pull that in biblically in both of our classes, talking about how we reach out to those around us. This gives us an opportunity too, if someday they ever meet up with someone at college per se that's from a country, they think, oh man, when I was in 5th grade, I had this weird meal from your country. It's called this. It might be a door that opens for conversation to give them, to build a relationship with that person, to do who knows what. And we can use this, scientifically, we can talk about it in science class. What kind of things are you discovering that happen in that country? Were there any scientific advances, any medical advances, things of that nature? So it's really kind of a cool thing that we both get excited to do with the students.
And I think you guys bring in families, right? To hear the presentations and join you.
Now
in
that
the food.
COVID's
Now
behind
that-
us, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's what to look forward to. How about in 4th grade?
There's two, the talent show and Box City. I'll start out with the talent show. The students really look forward to that because they understand that everyone is here for a purpose. They understand that God has given all of us gifts. And I think this is the time when they really see their true gifts that they really didn't know they had. Now, some of them, of course, are like, oh, I always sing and, or I play the violin. But there was one student this year that really surprised me. He was our MC. And I was so blown away because he didn't think he could do it, and he did an outstanding job. Box City is another project that we do. The kids bring in cardboard boxes, just big enough to kind of get into, just to not reenact being homeless, but just to be able to reflect on what it's like to be out in the cold without proper shelter, food, or clothing. And that reflection, we come back and we talk about how we can serve others that are homeless. So
And you usually have the coldest day of the year.
yes, every time.
And that makes it
Yes.
worthwhile.
It's very
I
real.
know the kids get excited about it, but it really is a meaningful reflection time. And I think you
Yes.
guys do a good job of making sure that that is a not somber, but meaningful.
It's
reflective
really cool to
time.
see the pictures, the
Mhm.
rest of us, the teachers that we get to see, because the kids look like they're just really taking it serious.
Mhm.
They're journaling, they're just kind of spending time just quiet by
Yeah.
themselves and not going crazy, running around.
Right.
And it's just neat to see them really get into that, try to
Mhm.
understand the lesson that's being
That
taught.
empathy. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. All right, and then some of our field trips, I'd love to talk about. Fifth grade is one of those years that everyone looks forward to because of Camp Thunderbird. So if
Mhm.
you haven't heard about Camp Thunderbird, here you go.
Well, this October was my first time sleeping over because of the pandemic, of course. It was good without sleeping over, but it was amazing. Sleeping over.
2 nights, right?
Yes, 2 nights. And it was just a good time to bond. And I really like it because you get to see
Mhm.
personalities come out. And I guess like you were saying, Miss Shackelford, I saw one of the students that came in pretty shy, was a former student and then came back. And he had to do a skit. And he was hilarious. I just kept laughing, bending over laughing because I didn't expect him to be so funny. And so that was one of the pieces. And then the girls got a chance to bond in the cabins, and we were supposed to go to sleep at 10, and that never happened. And in the morning they woke up and did each other's hair and those types of things. So
That's probably not what happened to the boys.
No, we did. It was amazing. I looked so pretty. Yeah. No, but it's cool because for a couple of days, we become one big family.
Yeah.
It's like we're kind of the pseudo mom and dads, and we have 2 other adults that are with us as well. And we just kind of become a family. And it's a great way to just build those relationships outside of school. You don't have to worry about, what you've done, what you haven't done, and getting homework done and this, whatever. We're just there experiencing life and experiencing the world. It's a nature camp. And so we're experiencing the world that God created on a whole different level and right in front of us. It's really cool.
That's really neat. Really neat. Now in 4th grade, they do some pretty cool trips too. Tell us about one of them, Ms. Shackelford.
Cowpens is another one that will, that goes with our social studies unit. The Battle of Cowpens, January 17th. We try to get as close as we can to that date to take the kids there to the battleground. And I know that there's a reenactment that they'll see. So they're excited about going to see that.
That's good. Now, you already mentioned one of your field trips, which was tied to the servanthood, the talent show, right? When you went to the towers. Did you mention that was at the towers?
No, I did
So
not.
yeah, so tell us a little bit about that one too.
So at Westminster Towers, the residents there, they absolutely love to see the students come over. I mean, after their show, after the performance, they come over, they talk to the kids. They want them to come back the next year.
You have a good turnout too, right?
Yes.
Packed house.
Yes, a packed house. The parents are involved. They come and watch. Grandparents, so everyone is invited.
Really neat multi-generational tie-in there. That's great. We also offer some program enrichments, which we haven't offered for a while due to the pandemic, but we brought them back just a few weeks ago. I feel like maybe at the beginning of second quarter. We've got some chapel teams. So all of the 4th and 5th graders are eligible, old enough to be in each one of these. So that's a big deal. Worship team, prayer team. Sometimes we have an art team. We don't have one of those right now. We've got drama team, got a new thing this year, Pep Squad. Mrs. Sapp, our college and career counselor from the upper school, is coming over and has a pretty good big group of kids that she's leading in cheers so that they can go over to the upper school basketball games and volleyball games and have a little cheering section.
They do it in the classroom too.
They practice in the classroom.
Even when we don't want them to.
So that's really cool. And of course, Fit Club is with Mr. McCowan and Mrs. Mick. One of the things that our 5th graders get to do every year is raise the flags and take them down every day, take care of those. And that's a big deal. We teach them how to do it properly and the meaning behind it. And then the recycling club. Now that's just for 5th grade, right?
Yeah.
Our 4th and 5th graders also get to do safety patrol, which I know that they really love. And this year, because of our new campus, Dr. Jolly has allowed our 3rd and 4th and 5th graders to escort the kindergartners from their drop-off line all the way to the gym. And that's been a real blessing, connecting those two to the littles with our bigs. All right, and as we begin to wrap up here, we can't say enough about how much we appreciate volunteers. We partner with parents and families because it matters to the kingdom, but also we love having you guys with us on campus. It has been really difficult I believe, on families to be at an arm's length over the last couple of years due to COVID. And we have so enjoyed seeing you guys coming back. We'd love to have people come in and read to our classes, demonstrations. We've had, was it in 5th grade that we had a World War II vet come in? Or was that?
Yeah, no,
That was last
year.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Great grandfather. That was really amazing.
Yeah. So grandparents, aunts, uncles, I mean, we just, anything that we will not turn you away. We want you in the building. We want you to come eat lunch with us, join us for chapel, and be a part of things.
We even have Zoom opportunities. We've done that before too, where we have some parents, like last couple of years, I had one parent who's a pilot, and during one of our science things, when we're talking about wind, he'll come in and Zoom with the class because he can't come in and Zoom with them and teach them about weather actually was, and how pilots use weather and weather forecasts and weather information to be able to pilot. So even if you can't come in, but you have something you'd like to share with technology, we can still bring you into the classroom.
That's really neat. Yeah, it's good. One big part, we touched on this earlier, but in 4th and 5th grade, you're going to see, if you haven't already had a child come through these grades, you're going to see a big difference in their social emotional response to life. And so just really wanted to touch on that a little bit. Coming up from 3rd grade to 4th grade, Ms. Shackelford, we talked about independence. We talked about wanting them to be able to show what they know, but what does that look like in a beginning 4th grader, and then we'll move to the 5th grade.
Beginning of 4th grade, of course, is hard. They come in they're independent, but they just need a little guidance. So once we talk about that, one of the fruits of the Spirit is that self-control, having that, they really focus on, just being more, having that control, being able to hone in those, those impulsive moments. So, once they get that going, everything else just kind of falls into place.
That's good. How does it look on a 5th grader in terms of friendships? I know, I remember it being a shock to me when my children stopped wanting me with them all the time. They wanted to know more about what their friends thought. That was a huge shock. Do you see that blossom in 5th grade?
Absolutely. That is one of the themes, one of the focuses, because friendships and, working through challenges. I encourage them to talk about things and conflicts and misunderstandings, because I think that's a awesome life skill to have. And this is a perfect time for them to start learning that. So it's a very social time. Girls and boys, they're trying to fit in and trying to discover themselves a little bit more and choosing friends, and they're going to little birthday parties and things like that outside of school. So that's a very, very important part of 5th grade. And then, like you said before, giving them time to talk and share. Sometimes I have to say, okay, no more sharing, because they'll keep going and going and going, but they're really finding themselves. So they definitely need that same kind of guidance, and we're continuing to work on that self-control. They want attention. So it's a good time, fun time, but also challenging time.
Sure, sure. And like you said, Mr. Fleming, the image bearing piece of that is so important for
Yeah,
them.
I mean, they need to really understand who they are, and this is the time when they really start to do it. They go crazy in middle school, middle school's great, but they go crazy in middle school because they're really trying to understand who they are. They're developing their personalities. They're being more independent. We see that in 5th grade, and it gives us the opportunity to help them identify who they are, but keep in mind that who other people are as well, that whole image bearing thing, not just themselves, but the people around them. And then this helps them, in my opinion, to start learning how to be a part of society. It's one thing when you're growing up and you're a kid and you're just playing, when everybody's playing a game, let's run out there all running around together, throwing a ball. What's the game? I don't know, but if I get the ball, I throw it at somebody. But now they're having to take these emotions they're feeling, these new ways of thinking of themselves and who they're friends with, who they don't like and who they do like, and all this, and they're learning how to cope with that and be in control of that. And that's giving them just some good skills, and which will help them academically, because that teaches them a sense of self-discipline, self-control, self-awareness, understanding, the ability to see where they are, where they can go, what they can do, and how to get there.
That's good. Ways that you can support them at home at this age. If you haven't had somebody come through, you hear schools say it all the time, math facts, but that really truly is something you can really help with. Once they have those math facts, they never lose them. So be drilling them on that, or be helping them find fun games where they can practice those and become real fluent with those. Comprehension, just reading with your child, having them read to you is one of the greatest things I think you can provide to them. And then also critically thinking, giving them opportunities to really think through things without giving them answers, asking them questions, and then giving them more responsibilities at home. I remember Dr. Jolly mentioned something to me that stuck with me. I was in a meeting with her once, and she was talking to a family, and she said, at my house, I listed all the chores that had to be done. And it was, some of them I took, some of them my husband took, and then some of them the kids took. And they just saw it all listed as, we are a family, we're doing this together. And it can't all be on one person or on 2 people, that we're all responsible. So giving them more and more responsibilities will naturally grow their independence and get them ready for 4th and 5th grade. And the last slide here is just an encouragement from us to you families. Like Mrs. Smith said, it is a fun time that they're coming into. It is a blessing to be a part of it. But it's also challenging, and there's lots of things that they are going through and that you guys will go through as you get through it together. But just expect God in it all, and try to have that be encouraging, and let it be a way for you to enjoy the journey, because they will be graduating sooner than you think, and then they'll be out the door. So enjoy them while you have them. I want to thank my panel, Mrs. Shackelford, Mrs. Smith, and Mr. Fleming for joining me today. If you guys, families, if you have any questions, or if you wanted to reach out to any of us, here is our contact info. We would love to have questions or further the conversation with you. Feel free to do that. So thank you again. Thank you, families, for joining us. And I pray that the rest of your day goes well.